What is the biggest issue America faces today?
Economy because of the pricing of houses, medical because people can't pay for the Medicare, and wages because they have such low wages that they can't pay for what they need. And Eisenhower promised that if he became president, he would be able to bring better wages and tax the rich so you'll be able to afford what you need instead of keep taxing the poor.
What is one issue that is plaguing America today?
I believe one issue that is plaguing America is definitely inflation, as it causes families to spend more on everyday essentials, which can cause stress and tension, which can also lead to mental health issues. I also believe that some families that were low to middle class are struggling and are now becoming the lower class. Also, immigrants may have less economic opportunities than they had before this inflation got so out of hand.
The issue I'll be talking about today is inflation and why it has a heavy impact on the US today. So, inflation today is a real problem that affects our economy and our daily lives. As prices keep rising, it's getting harder for families to afford basic things like food, housing, and healthcare. The stress can make people anxious about their finances and their future. Businesses, especially small ones, also struggle when costs go up, leading to less investment and slower growth. Inflation hits low and middle income families the hardest, making it tough for them to make ends meet and forcing them to make difficult choices, like skipping meals or putting off important doctor visits. To help our communities, we need to focus on solutions that can bring prices down and support everyone's well-being. This might mean policies that increase wages or stabilize prices. By working together, we can create a brighter future where everyone has a chance to succeed, no matter the challenges we face.
55.
The situation at the southern border is a major issue for the U.S. as large numbers of migrants attempted to cross into the country, putting pressure on border security and immigration services. This leads to overcrowded facilities, delays in processing cases, and challenges for communities, especially in border states, where schools, hospitals, and public services can become stretched. For U.S. citizens, it raises concerns about security, how taxpayers' money is spent, and potential imports on jobs and resources. Some worry about how immigration might affect wages, while others focus on the humanitarian side, advocating for more compassionate policies. The ongoing debate over the border reflects how deeper divisions in the country around immigration and national services.
I'm George H.W. Bush, and I believe that the biggest problem our country faces is global warming, causing increased heat in our western states and causing larger catastrophic events throughout the country.
Hello, my name is Barack Obama, and this is my plan on how I'm going to tackle America's biggest struggles. I would like to address the economy and how the inflation is affecting the working class Americans. I intend to help the middle class and the lower class to be able to afford housing, health care, and groceries. My administration will also help fix policies that Joe Biden set that has brought our country to where it's at today. My next struggle would to be address the foreign policies that will help countries that are suffering from conflict and bring peace to war-ridden countries. I would also like to help out healthcare because a lot of people are struggling to pay healthcare. And with your vote and your participation to make me president, I can change America and make us great.
Good evening. I am honored to welcome you all to the presidential election debate of 2024. On behalf of the Social Studies and English departments at Farmington High School, I would like to thank you all for attending this debate and for supporting our candidates. On the last day of our nation's Constitutional Convention, September 18th, 1787, a lady asked Dr. Benjamin Franklin, "Well, doctor, what do we have here, a republic or monarchy?" Dr. Franklin replied by saying, "A republic, if you can keep it." As our nation negotiates its way through time, we have all of our leaders' actions under increased scrutiny, and the world faces unprecedented challenges. Several hardworking civic students have been taking the time to research, analyze, and express the opinions and positions of our former presidents, from Dwight Eisenhower to Joseph Biden Jr. They have each voluntarily decided which candidate they would like to represent in order to fulfill the requirements of a fabricated simulation in which former President Anthony Pata and his administration have resigned from office pending charges of treason. As the Chief Justice of the United States of America, I amend our Constitution in order to help our country recover the election of a steady and stable leader, a former president. Please note that neither Farmington Public Schools nor any of the staff or the district support or endorse any political candidates. Again, neither Farmington Public Schools nor any of our staff or the district support or endorse any political candidates. This campaign simulation is for educational purposes only, for the students to research, analyze, and express the opinions and positions of the candidates that they have volunteered to represent throughout the semester. The students have dedicated much time and effort to researching an array of topics, and their candidates and their competition's stance on the various issues facing our nation and the world. They deserve our utmost respect and gratitude. Tonight, they will make their cases as to which one of them has the blueprint needed to preserve the precious republic that was formed by Benjamin Franklin and our four founding fathers. Which candidate will keep our republic strong, representative, and open to change in order for the United States to continue being a leader of the free world? At the end of the debate, you, the people, will have the opportunity to decide which presidential candidates are best prepared to become the nominees for the Republican and Democrat parties in order to transition the general election to steer our country through these uncharted times. Let me emphasize that we are all very proud of each and every one of these candidates. We ask that everyone please be respectful and considerate and remain silent and seated until our debate is over. We have a lot to cover, so please get comfortable, enjoy your time, and remember to keep it civilized. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. I am Ms. Ayers, and I'm honored to be here tonight for the second annual presidential primary debate. Tonight's debate is different, as all of the presidential candidates from both the Democratic and Republican Party have been invited to participate together. The debate will soon begin with the introduction of each candidate. We will then all recite our national anthem, followed by a brief opening statement by each of the presidential candidates. The moderators will then ask the candidates specific questions. For each question, the candidates will have a maximum of 2 minutes to offer an answer. If a candidate singles out another candidate in their answer, the candidate that has been singled out has a maximum of 1 minute to respond. At approximately 7 p.m., the candidates will be excused for a 10-minute break. After the second round of questions, the candidates will each have 1 minute for closing statements. Once the candidates have exited the stage, the audience will be directed to vote for the winner of the Republican primary and the winner of the Democratic primary. In order to vote, you must present the bottom portion of your ticket and show your event bracelet to the officials managing the voting booths outside of this hall. Staff of Farmington Public Schools may not vote. When the time comes for voting, please be patient, quiet, and respectful as others are casting their votes. We also ask that the members of the audience please remain seated until break time. You may applaud each candidate as they are individually introduced onto the stage, and then again at the end of the debate. Beyond that, we ask that you hold all applause until the debate is officially over. I would like to inform everyone that none of the moderators, presidential candidates, or anyone else besides Mr. Pata have seen the questions for tonight's debate beforehand. With that being said, I would like to now introduce the moderators of tonight's debate. Will you please join me in welcoming the moderators from the Golden News, Ms. Catherine Gustafson, Mr. Jeremy Gold, Mrs. Janet Cadeau. Without further ado, let us proceed with the introduction of the candidates. Mr. Ronald Reagan, as represented by Morgan Dietz. Mr. Richard Nixon, as represented by Ali Abbasi. Mr. John Kennedy, as represented by Antoine Bailey. Mr. Dwight Eisenhower, as represented by Elaine Rogers. Mr. Barack Obama, as represented by David Broden. Mr. Donald Trump, as represented by Christian Abu-Aziz. Mr. Joseph Biden, as represented by Viviana Roberts. Mr. Gerald Ford, as represented by Saad Sheikh. Mr. Bill Clinton, as represented by Jalen Johnson. Mr. George Walker Bush, as represented by Yi-Sol Kim. Mr. Jimmy Carter, as represented by Joshua Rayner. Mr. George Herbert Walker Bush, as represented by Sam Brennan. And Mr. Lyndon Johnson, as represented by Aaron Sanders. Now, I ask that you all please rise and join Olivia Campbell in reciting our national anthem. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much, Olivia. Now, on to the opening statements. Candidates, remember, you only have 1 minute to deliver your opening remarks. We will begin with Mr. Reagan.
Good evening, Americans. I have a question. Do you believe in America? Because I have always believed in the resilience, the strength, and the unmatched potential of our great nation, and that has never been wavered. My name is Ronald Reagan, and I was the 40th President of the United States. During my time in office, we reignited the American economy. The Cold War, we stared it right down in the face, and freedom emerged. We stood tall then, and I'm standing before you now because I know we can do it again. But today, our nation faces new struggles. The economy is strained, families are struggling, and our place in the world feels less secure. I am running for president in 2024 because I believe America needs steady leadership. Now, more than ever. We don't need any more empty promises. We need action. Why me, do you ask? The answer is clear. We have always believed in the strength of the American people, not in the power of the government. We've overcome many challenges before, and with your support, we will do it again. Thank you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Mr. Richard Nixon.
My fellow Americans, we are living in a time where America's leadership is being tested from all around the world. My name is Richard Nixon, and I was your president leading this country through some of the toughest times it's ever had. I was the one who ended the Vietnam War, the opening of doors to China, and the way the world works together. Strong leadership brought us through this, and the challenges that we face today, from Russia trying to take Ukraine and China's attempts to take Taiwan, these require experienced leaders to help us resolve. Second, we need to rebuild America's trust and leadership around the world. Our enemies and friends look towards us on how we approach issues such as Russia's war in Ukraine, in China, and Taiwan. Let me be clear, U.S. will always stand strong for freedom and democracy. I will work hard to measure our allies that they can count on us, and I'll strengthen our partnerships with other countries. When America leads, the world is safer, more stable, and our allies will know that they can trust us. Together, we can face these challenges and create a stronger, brighter future for all Americans. Thank you for your support.
Mr. John Kennedy.
Good evening. As you know, I am John F. Kennedy. First, I want to thank you for being here tonight and giving me the opportunity to present my case. Our country is facing many challenges today. The world is on the verge of a major world war. We need a president who has experience with both foreign and domestic policies in order to form a better country and to help us. We need peace, we need stability. We do not need a world war. Let us look back at my record to remind you that I am the man for the job. I was one of the first Roman Catholic presidents of the U.S. and served from 1961 to 1963. A couple of my major accomplishments was when the space program, which allowed me to leading the Cuban Missile Crisis by blockading Cuba on October 22, 1962. I am grateful to be in this debate, and our economy is suffering from elevated inequality, higher level of prices, owing to elevated post-pandemic inflation, quality jobs, and lack of affordable housing. A couple of changes I wanted to address were to create quality jobs and to control inflation. I plan to address these challenges by implementing Executive Order 10925, which requires the executive branch of the government to encourage equal employment opportunity for all and implementing tax cuts to boost consumer spending and investment. By reducing taxes, I am aimed to increase disposable income. I will also encourage voluntary wage and price controls to prevent inflation from escalating. Thank you.
Mr. Dwight Eisenhower.
Good evening, America. I am Dwight David Eisenhower. I was the 34th President of the United States. I was a war hero in World War II. I led our troops in the invasion of France on D-Day, and I was a world leader of the greatest kind. My leadership saw our country through some of its greatest economic days in our history. And in the very first year of my presidency, I ended the Korean War. My plan to fix our country's problems starts with the economy. I will raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour, and I will also raise the minimum wage, and I will tax the rich. And then I will fix our education system, which is in shambles as the IQ rate of our nation is dropping, by investing money in our country's public school system and by raising the wages of teachers. Remember, a vote for Ike is a vote for peace, prosperity, and progress. Thank you.
Mr. Barack Obama.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States of America. I stand here today with the honor of knowing that we, the people of America, can be strong, free, and independent, and also tackle any obstacle bestowed upon us. With the presence of you guys in the crowd and the support that you guys have made me the man I am today. As I stand here right now, I know I can conquer any task that is given to us, and that we, the people, can change for better and be great together. Thank you.
Mr. Donald Trump.
Hello, everyone. You know who I am. I'm Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States. We're going through a tough time, and the decision we make today will shape our future. Some achievements I have done was tax cuts and job acts, which help our economic growth and job creation. As president, I will put first American interests, strengthening our military, reducing our legations. In the future, I want to address immigration by strengthening border security in order to protect American workers and lessen military deployment overseas. I believe I'm the best choice out of all these candidates because I'm straightforward. And thank you for giving me the honor to speak today. I'm here to make America great again.
Mr. Joseph Biden.
My fellow Americans, let me just start off by saying it is so great to be here, and thank you all for coming. When I was elected president in 2020, America was faced with one of its biggest challenges. The economy faced tremendous amounts of adversity, which I helped overcome, creating over 12 million jobs and continued my work in foreign policy, all while facing climate change. While democracy faces threats and families struggle with rising costs, I am the leader who can push us forward. I'm ready to face the various factors that need to be dealt with. My administration will continue to fight for fairness and unity as the opposing party aims to set us back. Together, we can keep building back a better, stronger America. Thank you.
Mr. Gerald Ford.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, I stand before you today not just as a candidate, but as a fellow citizen who has dedicated his life to this great nation. My name is Gerald Ford, and I am proud to have served as your president, navigating our country through some of its most challenging times. During my time, I successfully looked over the nation's economic recovery following the rough years of the 1970s and laid the groundwork for a more stable and prosperous America. I also took the bold step to bring our troops home from Vietnam, ending a long and painful chapter in our history. Our country is at jeopardy right now. In the face of obstacles that risk our security, growth, and morals, we must remain united. I think my expertise, honesty, and dedication to working across party lines makes me the greatest candidate for president at this point in time. Together, these qualities will heal our nation's differences and drive it forward. First and foremost, we must promote economic expansion that helps all Americans, not just the wealthy. I suggest passing changes to taxes that benefit small companies and middle-class households in order to make sure that our economy benefits everyone. Second, we need to rebuild everyone's faith in our institutions. The people of America deserve to have a government that serves them, not the other way around. I'll fight for accountability and openness in the government, working closely with Congress to make sure that all opinions are heard and that corruption never exists in our leadership. Second, let's not talk about why my party and I are the best options for our country. Our party has continuously shown dedication to conservative principles and national security, unlike my opponents. We think that a government that upholds individual rights is necessary, that law and order is important, and that our communities are strong. By working together, we can protect these values and create a future that upholds the American dream. Ronald Reagan says that the worst 9 words to hear is that I'm from the government and I'm here to help. But under my presidency, it will be the best words that you will ever hear. I am Gerald Ford, and I'm here to win.
Mr. Bill Clinton.
Hello, America. Today, I'm here before you to announce my next candidacy in the office. You may have known me before for some certain controversies, but that has nothing to do with what I did in the office. An actual question now, does that matter compared to what I did while I was a president or what I did in my life? Other issues I plan on tackling are the illegal border crossings and the poor economy as of lately. Those things I promise to fix and that you expect of me will be things done that I will do during my candidacy. Of course, unlike my other candidates, you can see that they haven't done so well to do those things, showing to their lack of competence, showing that they're not capable of the job.
Mr. George Walker Bush.
Good evening, fellow Americans. I am George W. Bush, and I am the 43rd President of the United States. During my presidency, I have proudly led America to the growth of the economy and the public health of 4 steps in humanitarianism. I have shown to people my strength in leadership, which becomes an essential part of becoming a president. The United States today needs a balanced system for the immigration, ensuring border security while offering the way to citizenship for the undocumented immigrants. Is very important today. So why vote for George W. Bush? Here's why. If I become the President of the United States, I would implement changes in expanding mental health support and comprehensive immigration reform. Thank you for coming today, and I hope you enjoy the debate. God bless you.
Mr. Jimmy Carter.
Okay. My name is Jimmy Carter, and I've served as the 39th President of the United States of America. And I want to start off by saying that I want to be your next president because I want to fix all of your problems caused by former President Bata. But first, I would like to say why I'm the best president to fix your problems today. First, the main reason why I'll be the best choice for president of America is because I honestly believe that I am the only president that can fix your economy today. And nobody else in here can do it. So, I just want to say that we need leaders for a change. So, God bless you, and thank you all for being here.
Mr. George Herbert Walker Bush.
America has changed a lot since the United Colonies to the present time. There are times when we accomplished a lot of things and made a difference. As a religious man, my beliefs for this country include a country full of family traditions and American values. My visions are to make families feel more comfortable and to not have to worry about spending excessively just to maintain their lifestyles. On top of that, I see the global warming crisis and how bad it is getting. We are seeing more things happening to the climate that could severely impact the country in ways we could not fix unless we put the effort in to fix them now. My goal for this country is to fix all of the problems that are impacting a lot of lives during these last few years, and to make people feel as that they should trust this community instead of feeling like this country is not taking the people's words into consideration and keeping all of the important issues to the side. Thank you. Have a good evening.
And Mr. Lyndon Johnson.
Saving the best for last. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to remember the power of unity and the promise of progress. I am Lyndon B. Johnson, and I am here to remind you that change isn't just possible, it's necessary. Just imagine a nation where every child has the great opportunity to thrive, where healthcare is never a privilege, but is a right, where the American dream is accessible to all people. This isn't just some vision, but a commitment that I have made during my presidency and will continue to fight for today. I stand before you today as a leader who fought tirelessly for civil rights because I care for the people, my people. We are face to face with rising inequality, a broken healthcare system, and a climate crisis that is threatening our future. The Democratic Party stands for progress, justice, and unity, while the opposing party often prioritizes the wealthy and powerful. We can tackle the climate crisis, reform our criminal justice system, and restore faith in our democratic institutions. Together, we can forge a path to a more equitable and prosperous nation for all. Let us work together to create a future where every American has the opportunity to thrive. The Great Society was just the beginning. Let's continue that journey together. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, Ms. Catherine Gustafson will pose the questions regarding the first topic of the night, the American economy.
Thank you, candidates. The issue that continues to linger on many Americans' minds is the issue of inflation, especially as they struggle with increasing prices and costs of living while their wages remain unchanged. Goldman Sachs has indicated that significant government spending contributes to inflation. Mr. Reagan, in your view, should the government reduce spending to help restore economic stability and bring prosperity back to our nation?
Thank you for the question. I do agree that we should be reducing government spending in order to help inflation. I believe that I have a lot of past experience regarding this issue. As some of you may know, Reaganomics was my economic plan, and I have some statistics I would like to read to you from my previous terms. From 1981 to 1989, the unemployment rate went from 10.8% to 5.3%, and the stock market succeeded, and inflation went from 13% in 1980 to 4% in 1989. So when it comes to inflation, I do have the experience, and I do believe that government spending reducing government spending will help.
Thank you. Mr. Trump has continuously lashed out at Bidenomics and blamed Biden for what he characterizes as a crumbling economy and for inflation that spiked to 9.1% in June of 2022. Mr. Biden, what do you have to say to the American people in order to address Mr. Trump's claims?
I think he's a delusional old man who is not only incorrect, but clearly insane. Bidenomics has actually helped our economy so much by focusing on building from the middle out and the bottom up. We've created millions of jobs, and we've lowered unemployment and invested in infrastructure, clean energy, and manufacturing. We've also cut the deficit and made key investments in working families. While there's more work to do, our policies have put the economy on a stronger, more sustainable path for the future. What do you plan on doing?
Talking about old when you're a walking corpse, first of all.
Okay.
Let's keep it civil, candidates.
You double my inflation, and that's all I gotta say for now.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll remind our candidates we are on national television. Please keep it appropriate. Mr. Carter, during George W. Bush's terms in office, he proposed a few tax cuts, even though they increased our national debt. Do you think George W. Bush's policy is a good policy? Would you propose tax cuts, even if they further increase the national debt? It's for Mr. Carter.
Okay. No, I will not. I don't think it's a good idea to give out tax cuts because if it furthers, actually, now that I think about it, really, tax cuts are kind of a good thing. Because, really, I believe that the national debt is already as high as it can be right now, and there's really no taking it down anymore. So I believe that tax cuts is a good thing, and George H.W. Bush should keep on doing stuff like that.
Okay, Mr. Reagan, it looks like you'd like to reply.
Jimmy Carter, I just want to know if you're for it or against it. I was a little confused there.
She said what? Wait, could you please repeat that? I didn't really catch that.
I just wanted to know if you were actually for it or against it. I was just a little confused by your statement.
I'm for it.
Okay. I just wanted to set something clear involving tax cuts. I, Ronald Reagan, I signed the Economic Recovery Tax Act of 1981, and it cut the top tax rate from 70% down to 50% and then down to 28%. And that idea of cutting that tax rate was that if businesses paid less in taxes, they would have more money to spend and invest. And just to let everyone know, that act was very successful.
Okay, Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford, you continuously make the claim that our country's economic welfare impacts our national security and vice versa. Many economists claim that we are now in a weak economic position. What do you have to say to Mr. Biden about our national security and why?
I would like to say to Mr. Biden that he has done the worst job I think I've ever seen at handling inflation. The inflation doubled from Donald Trump to 17%, I think it was. So I don't know if he can even speak on inflation. And for national security, I think he just did a lot of unnecessary things that were not needed. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Biden?
If I recall, none of you came into office during a virus, a COVID pandemic, an outbreak. Did any of you have to do that?
And I recall that no other president has tripped downstairs.
Okay.
Reminder
Well,
to keep it civil.
I'd just like to say that none of you had to do what I do. I had to build us up when the world was pretty much ending, you know, on lockdown. You can wait.
I am waiting.
I created millions of jobs for people and did so much more. What can you say you've done?
The world was ending and you somehow made it worse. That's all I have to say.
Made it worse how?
The world was already going into nothing and you somehow just, I don't know, you just blew up
Really?
the world even more.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gustafson and candidates. We will now move on to the second topic of the night, healthcare reform, with Mr. Gold posing the questions to the candidates.
Good evening. Mr. Clinton, as the national debate for abortion rights has heated up, you have claimed that you would meet the Republican Party and the Democratic Party halfway in their division over the issue. What would halfway look like under a Clinton presidency?
Thank you for the question. Halfway would look like understanding the difference between killing a baby and knowing when the baby isn't fully developed yet. Usually, most fetuses develop between 37 and 42 weeks completely. Anything before that has not been fully formated into a full baby yet, so we can say for sure, or not for sure, depending on the situation, that it may not be causing actual harm. Of course, after that, it will be considered harm because the baby at this point will be formed and, well, it will be considered killing a baby. So, meeting it halfway would be setting a law or acts where it would essentially have a cutoff time until whoever in this case it may be is seeking to get rid of the baby that they do not want at a certain point.
Okay. Mr. Nixon, it was during your presidency that the historic Roe versus Wade decision became law, but it was under Mr. Trump's term in office that the decision was overturned. Now, the country is deeply divided over the issue, and Mr. Trump continues to change his position on abortion. What is your position on abortion and the reproductive rights, and how do you feel about Mr. Trump being inconsistent on the issue?
My position on abortion is that I would support a ban after 20 weeks with exception to the mother's health. And exceptions include rape, incest, and the mother's health. On President Trump, I think that it's normal for President Trump to be inconsistent with what he says and that this is an average thing for Trump.
Mr. Trump, would you like to rebut?
Well, of course I'm going to change. I'm for the people, and I'm make those changes for the people, obviously.
Thank you. Many American female voters have stated that abortion is a priority issue in this election. Many Republican candidates have argued that abortion robs unborn children of life. In particular, Mr. Trump has argued that he supports life. He also argues that the abortion issue is a state's issue and has also said that he would help women in need by offering financial assistance, including adoption and child care resources. Mr. Obama, what are your thoughts on Mr. Trump's position on this issue?
Currently, I feel that Donald Trump and what he did with abortion is totally unright because any woman should have the ability to do what they want with their body, and if they are harmed or something happens to them and they do not want the baby, they should be able to do what they want with their body. Also, I feel like Trump laws really like affected women, and it's just wrong.
How about you give me a reason about what you said? Like, give me an example. Give me an example. How I'm wrong.
Your administration is taking away a right that a woman should have with our health care and what we are able to do.
I'm putting for fairness. I'm going to be a proponent for fairness.
Come on, you got it.
It's okay.
I'm for the woman.
Great job.
Moving on. Mr. Carter, you had your hand up.
What Obama said? Okay. Donald Trump, I want to know, why do you think you have the right to decide what women should do with their bodies? I really want to ask you that question.
I just sign what's best.
Mr. Reagan, you had something to add.
I would just like to say one thing that I hope resonates with you all. Everyone who is for abortion has already been born. And that's all I have to say on that.
President Johnson?
I just want to add on for Trump. You say you're for the people, yet you want to take the people's rights. Make it make sense.
I give people the rights what they deserve.
Oh, okay.
All right. Mr. George Herbert Walker Bush, you have called for all Americans to come together and build a health care system that truly serves the needs of all Americans. Are you implying that Obamacare does not truly serve the needs of all Americans? If so, how would your health care system be any different from Obamacare?
I believe that Obamacare does perform most of the needs of our citizens for health care, but I believe some things are blocked behind paywalls that need to be lowered so that then more citizens may have access to that health care.
Thank you.
Tick. Okay, thank you for saying that I did good, but I would like to say, without what I did for the government, we wouldn't have health care from the government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kennedy, healthcare is the leading cause of bankruptcy for American families, accounting for 2/3 of all personal bankruptcies. How do you feel about Obamacare, and how would a Kennedy administration address the healthcare crisis plaguing the United States?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Certainly. Healthcare is the leading cause of bankruptcy for American families, accounting for 2/3 of all personal bankruptcies. How do you feel about Obamacare, and how would a Kennedy administration address the healthcare crisis plaguing the United States?
Although the Obamacare is a good health care system that offers many Americans proper health and helps them out with any problems they may have, it is good for our country. It does not account for the Americans who may not have the money, or when they do, they buy and they lose the money, putting them in a bad financial situation, which would stop them from any future healthcare moments they may need. What I would do, I would introduce a way to make American citizens be able to utilize healthcare without spending too much money. This way, they won't have to worry about the financial part of the healthcare system in America.
Thank you.
Talking about money.
President Obama and then President Reagan.
Your federal spending, like, what you have did with the government's money, you shouldn't be saying what people do with their money and how they come to Obamacare, because I help everybody. Thank you.
President Reagan wanted to respond.
Yes, thank you. I would like to add on to President Kennedy's information that he gave us. Obama's Affordable Health Care Act failed to control health care costs. Families are paying more out of pocket now than they ever have before. Did you know that?
Obamacare. Obamacare can help everybody and anybody.
But can it really when it's taking so much money out of people's pockets that they can't pay for it? Listen, I think that healthcare should be affordable. I will introduce additional legislation to improve the efficiency of Medicare and Medicaid. Thank you.
President Kennedy, response?
Mr. Obama, in October 2013, Obamacare faced significant technical issues. The healthcare.gov site crashed repeatedly, leading to over 2 million visitors in the first day, but only a fraction of this number successfully enrolling.
John Kennedy, what you have did with healthcare didn't help anybody at all.
Could you give me an example?
An example is people were paying caps of prices for prescriptions and things like that.
Remind me, but I think it was the same for you, Obama.
I think we have reached an impasse on this topic. We're now going to move on to our third topic.
Thank you, Mr. Gold, and thank you, candidates. The next round of questions will be asked by Mrs. Cadeau regarding education reform.
Good evening. Mr. Johnson, you have stated that our schools are still not equal. You claim that while our schools have greatly improved in quality, some of that quality is only for the more privileged. How would a Johnson administration deal with this issue in order to make sure that our education system caters equally to all students?
I would make sure. Okay. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question real quick?
You have stated that our schools are still not equal. You claim that while our schools have greatly improved in quality, some of that quality is only for the more privileged. How would a Johnson administration deal with this issue in order to make sure that our education system caters equally to all students?
I would certainly make sure that we have enough money to provide for all schools and provide for everyone to have the proper education. Thank you.
Thank you. General Eisenhower. Many educators have criticized George W. Bush's No Child Left Behind Act by referring to it as a failure. If elected president, would you support Bush's No Child Left Behind Act? If not, what would education reform look like under an Eisenhower administration?
All right, so the No Child Left Behind Act, while it did improve our country's reading, writing, and math scores, it did not focus anything at all on science. And look where we are now. We are falling behind on the world stage in technology. In an Eisenhower administration, I would increase STEM education, focusing on technology and science, so that we can once again lead the world in technology, science, etc. And that would also help our national security, as we have the technology to further defend our nation.
Thanks for your response. Mr. George W. Bush, American students are in academic trouble. They have lower scores in math and reading than Chinese students. In addition, there is chronic absenteeism in American schools, which is at records high. This problem has even been referred to as education homicide. The majority of American families cannot wait years for a fix to our education system. What would you do right now as President of the United States to address the problem?
Pardon me, can you say it one more time for me?
American students are in academic trouble. They have lower scores in math and reading than Chinese students. In addition, there is chronic absenteeism in American schools, which is at records high. This problem has even been referred to as education homicide. The majority of American families cannot wait years for a fix to our education system. What would you do right now as President of the United States to address the problem?
To address the problem, I will expand the programs for early childhood education and preparing students for the future economic success. I will also address the learning loss that was due to pandemic by increasing the federal fundings so that the low-income schools and the families would get more support and would get more fundings for their learning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Cadeau and candidates. We will now take a 10-minute break, and we will resume with the second round of questions after the break. All presidential candidates, please meet Mr. Patah at the back of the stage during this break.
Greetings, fellow Americans. I am Greetings, fellow Americans. I am Dwight Eisenhower, and I am seeking the Republican nomination for President of the United States of America. I come before you today to talk about the relationship between our nation and China. During my first year of presidency, the Korean War ended. It was sped up by our threats towards China of expanding the war beyond their borders and the threat of using nuclear weapons. We put enough pressure on them to help them be more agreeable to a truce between North and South Korea. However, after this, China still remained a threat. Tensions between the Republic of China, now known as Taiwan, and the People's Republic of China were strained after the Chinese Civil War. In fact, the outbreak of the Korean War prevented a possible invasion of the Republic of China by the People's Republic of China, as the American 7th Fleet was in the Taiwan Strait at the time in order to prevent the Korean War from spreading further south. In the years after the Korean conflict, our nation allied more strongly with the ROC. In 1954, I helped to lead the formation of the South Asia Treaty Organization in order to unite the area against communist threats. Then I openly considered a mutual defense treaty with the ROC. However, these actions were not taken lightly by any stretch of the imagination by the PRC, and they bombed various cities and islands in the ROC. During this time, tensions in the Taiwan Strait continued to rise. Due to this, we passed the Formosa Resolution in 1955. This would allow me, Dwight Eisenhower, as president, to send troops to defend Taiwan and the islands around it to defend them against any perceived threats. In the present, mainland China has expressed desires to unite with Taiwan. However, with the Ukraine-Russia conflict still ongoing, they've held back. I have not a doubt in my mind that if Russia were to succeed in Ukraine, China would make their move to reclaim Taiwan. Under both Trump and Biden's administrations, they prioritized the way China was affecting the American economy. They poured money into research on the Chinese companies in the American markets, while doing little more than giving speeches and harsh words about the situation in Taiwan. The way China is affecting our economy is a very important issue, but is it really more important than the rising tensions that could easily tip over into a war? Do we really want leaders like this? Leaders who prioritize money over our nation's safety? America, you know as well as I that so-called leaders like these will only drive our nation to ruin. Unlike my opponents, I have a solution that will work. My way of dealing with China before, with threats and plenty of strength to back them up, has worked. My proposal is simple. America must hold Russia accountable and stop the invasion of Ukraine. This will send a message to China that the United States of America is not afraid to do what must be done. And they will back off from Taiwan, knowing how easily we could bring justice and end their invasion. Thank you for your time, America. I am Dwight Eisenhower, and I approve this message.
I'm John F. Kennedy. During my presidency from 1961 to 1963, one of the significant challenges I faced was the evolving situation with China, particularly regarding the strategy towards Taiwan. My administration took several key actions to address this complex issue. First and foremost, I made it a priority to support Taiwan. The Republic of China amidst growing tensions with the People's Republic of China. I continue the provision of military aid to Taiwan, ensuring they had equipment and training necessary to defend themselves effectively. This support was crucial in maintaining our commitment under the Mutual Defense Treaty. In addition to military aid, I authorized the deployment of U.S. naval forces to the region. This was not just a show of strength, but a concrete measure to demonstrate our support for Taiwan and to deter any aggressive moves by the PRC. We wanted to make it clear that the United States stood firmly with Taiwan and was prepared to back them up. One of the significant challenges we encountered was the Taiwan Strait crisis. This situation was tense with ongoing conflicts over the offshore islands of Quemoy and Matsu. I took steps to manage this crisis through a combination of military readiness and diplomatic engagement. It was crucial to reassure Taiwan and maintain stability in the region. Publicly, I made several statements and speeches to underscore our commitment to Taiwan. These were not just for show. They were meant to reinforce our support and provide reassurance to both Taiwan and to the international community. I wanted to ensure that everyone knew the United States was firmly behind our allies. Beyond these immediate actions, I worked to strengthen our regional alliances. This included bolstering our relationships with countries like Japan and South Korea. I believe that by strengthening these alliances and engaging in international diplomacy, we can effectively counterbalance the PRC's influence and maintain stability in the Asian Pacific region. My approach was driven by a firm belief in our commitments and strategic vision for managing Cold War geopolitics. It was about balancing military support with diplomatic efforts and working with our allies to ensure a stable and secure environment for Taiwan and the border region. My strategy was different from other candidates because it involved to strengthen the U.S. alliances and to maintain military readiness while trying to maintain a complex relationship with China through diplomatic means and support for the allied nations. Eisenhower is an example of one of the candidates I was different from. Eisenhower favored a more restrained approach, emphasizing the use of nuclear deterrence as a primary strategy in seeking to avoid direct confrontations. I, John F. Kennedy, am not afraid of confrontations. Nixon different from my strategy as well. Nixon traveled to China to meet with the Chinese leaders. This visit was a major breakthrough and led to the Shanghai Communique, a statement that helped normalize relations between the two countries. Although this was a good strategy, it is not one that I would recommend. I, John F. Kennedy, support this message.
Good evening, America. I am Lyndon B. Johnson, and I am seeking the Democratic nomination for the President of the United States of America. Today, we face a serious challenge with China, especially with its evolving strategy toward Taiwan. This is something we cannot ignore. In the past, when I was president, we took strong actions to handle international threats. We worked closely with our allies and built up our defenses to keep peace in the Asia-Pacific region. These steps helped us manage aggressive moves and support our friends. If I were president today, my approach would be the same. We need to keep our alliances strong and make sure our military is ready to defend democracy and global stability. We must be firm against any threats to Taiwan and respond as strongly as we did before. My response for this stance is simple. It's about protecting democratic nations and maintaining a stable world. This is not just about strategic interests. It's about upholding values we believe in. Some of my competitors have different views. For example, Donald Trump has often advocated for a more isolationist approach, suggesting that we should focus more on domestic issues and be less involved in international conflicts. On the other hand, Barack Obama has emphasized diplomacy and engagement, which can sometimes mean more negotiations and less immediate military action. My approach is different from both. I believe in working closely with our allies and being strong but measured in our actions. We need to be prepared and resolute, but also thoughtful in how we address these challenges. Thank you for your time. I am Lyndon B. Johnson, and I approve this message. Thank you.
I am Richard Nixon, and I am seeking the Republican nomination of President of the United States of America. In my time as president, one of the most critical foreign policy challenges I faced was the People's Republic of China. At the time, China was an isolated power, but I recognized the importance of engaging with them through a pragmatic approach. My administration took historic sides in normalizing relationships with Beijing, which opened up new opportunities for diplomacy and economic cooperation. However, Taiwan has always been a sensitive issue, one that tests the boundaries of China's goals and threatens to disturb regional stability. In my dealings with China, I made it clear that the United States supports Taiwan's independence. We cannot allow any force to undermine Taiwan's right to self-governance. China's evolving strategy towards Taiwan, marked by increased military exercises, aggressive rhetoric, and diplomatic pressure, requires us to respond with insight and strength. Taiwan's growing democracy stands as a beacon of freedom in the region, and we must protect it from any external threats. My administration has always been to encourage discussions between Beijing and Taipei. At the same time, we must remain watchful, ensuring that we are ready to counter any aggressive moves by China, using our alliances in the region and maintaining a strong military presence will be key to preserving peace. How my approach differs from my competitors. My competitors for the nomination take different stances on the critical issue. Barack Obama, for example, pursued a policy of cautious engagement with China, focusing on balancing competition with cooperation. His administration's pivot to Asia was a strategic move, but it lacked the decisive action required to address the growing military threat posed by China. While Obama's diplomacy was measured, my approach has always been of one bold, strategic action. I opened the door to China in 1972, but I did with the clear understanding that the U.S. would not compromise on Taiwan's independence. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has favored a more transitional approach to China, often focusing on economic deals rather than long-term strategic considerations. His emphasis on trade wars and tariffs has created uncertainty in global markets without addressing the core issue of China's military ambitions towards Taiwan. My approach has always been one that's more comprehensive. It's not just about trade or economics. It's about safeguarding Taiwan's independence and ensuring peace and stability in the region. Let us continue toward a strong and secure world. And as always, now more than ever. I am Richard Nixon, and I approve this message.
Let us all give another round of applause to our candidates as they prepare for the second round of questions. Candidates, please come back out onto the stage. Americans, as you are all aware, the threats the United States faces are the most serious and most challenging the nation has encountered since 1945 and include the potential for near-term major war. The threats begin with China, which has grown more belligerent in Asia. In Europe, Russia started the first major war in almost 80 years. In the Middle East, Iran finances a network of extremist groups. Increasingly, these countries work together against the United States. The warning signs today are similar to those in the run-up to both Pearl Harbor and 9/11, serious and underestimated. Let us now hear how the candidates will address foreign policy issues. Will Ms. Gustafson please proceed on questioning the candidates regarding these important issues?
Thank you, Ms. Ayers. Mr. Biden, you served as Obama's vice president for 8 years, yet you have often criticized his handling of Russia's aggression towards its neighbors, particularly in its dealings with Ukraine. As you are aware, it was during Obama's term that Vladimir Putin officially took control of Crimea. What do you see as a failure in Obama's strategy during that conflict, and how would you have addressed it differently?
Thank you. I guess I'd just like to start by saying that if Russia does invade Ukraine, then why wouldn't China invade Taiwan? We are the supreme power here, and it's our job to keep them in check. So if we're giving one country more power than another, then why wouldn't they invade?
Mr. Obama?
Currently, what you have been doing to stop the Russian and Ukraine war is little help, but I feel like with my help, I will tackle any conflict, and any conflict that has been thrown at us, besides from Crimea, I have tackled over and over again. And I feel like I'm the best.
Well, that may be true, but I've been doing work too, and sorry, one second. I give Ukraine as much funding as it needs, and I'll continue to give it more if they need it. I think what I'm doing is the right thing, and I think it is the best policy because, again, we are the supreme power, and it is our job to take care of them. So if Ukraine needs aid, I have no problem giving them aid, and I'll continue to do so.
Mr. Nixon?
While I believe that Joe Biden is correct, I believe that my policies, because I ended the Vietnam War, and I started talking to China. I believe that I could be the best person, best candidate here on the Russia and Ukraine topic.
Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower.
On the topic of Russian aggression, I applaud you for your attempts at reducing the tension between Ukraine and Russia, but it's not strong enough. It's not working. In 1955, at the Geneva Summit, I proposed an information exchange between us and the Soviet Union with pictures, aerial photos of our bases and their bases to be exchanged. While they didn't accept this, it did calm down the tensions of the Cold War, and we need to be more direct like that. We can't just ignore it. We can't just ignore these problems anymore.
I agree, but the problems aren't being ignored. We're handling them, and Russia has not taken over Ukraine, so it just shows that what I'm doing is working and will continue to work. Maybe in the future we'll need to do something stronger and more effective, and my administration is working on that, and we'll continue to do what we are doing now because it is working.
Mr. Ford, did you have a response?
I would like to talk about what Nixon said about his Vietnam War decisions. You had a lot of secretive operations and bombing campaigns that led to a lot of loss of life. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, that may be true, but I also helped end the Vietnam War, and I increased our relationship with China, which if we hadn't, then who knows what would happen today.
Yeah, but you did that by almost putting us in a war that we did not need to be, and just the fact that you even killed innocent civilians just shows what kind of man you are.
Thank you so much, candidates. Mr. Kennedy, would you take the United States to war to defend Taiwan if China invaded the island?
Yes, I would. As a country of our stature and a country who values our alliances and our diplomatic relations, I would not sit back and watch as a country that we could and we would provide help to. I would not sit back as they are invaded by another country. So yes, I would.
Thank you. Mr. Trump, recently you have argued that China is one of the most prominent adversaries of the United States and that its growing military pressure and indirect threats must be dealt with accordingly. How would you deal with China's threats?
I would show force and push them till they will stop. And I'll show them how our country has the biggest superpower and not show them that we're wuss.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Reagan, you claim that whenever Jimmy Carter's name is mentioned in a topic of foreign policy, the first thing that pops into people's minds is the Iran hostage crisis. As you are aware, Iran continues to pose a threat to U.S. interests today. What makes you more qualified than Jimmy Carter to deal with the Iranian threats today?
Thank you for that question. So I would like to start out by giving some context to the situation. The Iranian hostages were being held for 444 days while Carter was in office. And as soon as my inauguration ceremony was completed, I told them, I put my hand on the Bible, and I said, I am not Jimmy Carter. I am Ronald Reagan, and I will show you that you do not want to mess with me. I applied force, and I used my communication skills to release the hostages. Thank you for the question.
Mr. Carter?
I'd like to respond by saying that my primary goals were to protect the hostages, and put in force will probably get the hostages executed or something worse than that. Like what I'm really about, I'm about like doing diplomatic channels, trying to find peace between us. And really, if we really want to get those hostages back, we need to settle this through peace, not war.
I do see where you are coming from, but your inability to resolve that issue put lives at risk, and it undermined the credibility of our nation.
So I'm trying to protect the interests of the United States and preserve the hostages' lives. And like,
But you didn't, I did. After the inauguration, I was the one who got the hostages released.
No, I didn't get them released. I was saying that in order for us to get them released, we would have to go like, we would really have to go to war with Iran to get them like our hostages released.
But I'm very confused because I did not go to war with them and I did get them released.
I mean, that was because as soon as you were elected, they released the hostages.
Because
Okay. Thank you so much, candidates. All right, Mr. Obama, based on your previous experience as Commander-in-Chief, do you agree or disagree with Mr. Trump engaging with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during his presidency? Why?
I feel that him talking with another leader, it's okay, but talking to someone that we have conflict with is not.
Go ahead, Mr. Trump.
I feel like keep your friends close, your enemies closer, and also I try for our country have agreements and try to make our country have peaceful wordings to each other leaders.
Mr. Eisenhower.
I did not have many personal dealings with North Korea, but it is obvious that currently they are a rival on the world stage with our nation. And while diplomacy is always a good thing, it's not good when you're way too close with your enemy. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, but you also need to understand that keeping your enemies closer means you're closer to them. And that's not good when they have more ammunition.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gustafson and candidates. The next topic of discussion centers around immigration. Mr. Gold will now pose the questions to the candidates regarding this lingering issue.
Candidates, as you're all aware, the world is in the grips of the worst refugee crisis since the end of World War II. From minorities escaping persecution in Bangladesh and Burma to Syrians fleeing their civil war, millions of people around the world are seeking protection from violence and instability. Yet world leaders have failed to find a resolution. Mr. Nixon, how would a Nixon administration lead the world to a solution that ensures refugees receive the protection they are entitled to?
I believe that we're to secure our southern border and that we have to find a support path to legal status to those who contribute positively, unlike others. If they do not contribute positively, I believe that they should be kicked out of our country.
General Eisenhower.
I disagree. We should let in our refugees from other countries and other immigrants as well, because we need larger workforce. The larger workforce helps keep our economy stable, and we also need better lives for our immigrants so that they can continue staying here and being efficient citizens.
I understand what you said, but I don't understand where I disagreed with you.
All right. Mr. Clinton, would you support funding and constructing the remainder of the Trump border wall on the southern border?
No. And the reason for that is that spending more money to get rid of something during the situation where we already have to deal with high prices as is, and other issues in our government is not a good time to spend money on something that is not worth it. As of right now even, we're even seeing that because of all the illegal border crossings, in fact, the wall might actually, in some ways, deter those kind of things from happening. Despite in the past, it may not have been effective. Something like that may improve or at least somewhat deter continuing actions like this. of course, actually, in the places where there aren't any walls, that might actually better those places too. Because in the places we are seeing, there are no walls, and, well, that's why we continue to have illegal immigration occurring right now.
Thank you. Oh,
While I understand why you don't want the wall, illegal immigrants are carrying drugs which are affecting school children, which is affecting their daily lives. And you don't want the wall to be built?
The wall that I say shouldn't be built was originally built out of bigotry and for hatred reasons. But now recently we've seen that things have changed. At the moment it wasn't necessary, but now because of the situation where the actual illegal immigration has increased and gotten more severe, we are now seeing that is more of a threat than we thought it was before.
okay. Mr. George W. Bush, you claim that your immigration plan is more realistic than both Mr. Reagan's and Mr. Nixon's plans. You say that Reagan's plan grants amnesty to illegal immigrants, while Nixon's plan is more geared towards law enforcement, ensuring order at home. Why should the American people believe that your plan will help solve the immigration crisis this time around, when you were unsuccessful in addressing the problem during your previous terms in office?
I believe that my solution is the best because I sorry.
It's okay. I think we're having a problem with the mic. George Herbert Walker Bush. More than 12 million immigrants, many of them people of color, live in the shadows under fear of arrest or deportation as a result of an immigration system that works to tear families and communities apart every day. When it comes to national security, immigrants of color are the first to be singled out, profiled, marginalized, and persecuted. What would you do to address the current immigration problem?
We could pass an enforcement law that allows more people of color and other races that have immigrated here to get the jobs that they need to be able to sustain without having to do things such as stealing or other crimes that they may have committed due to not being able to get the proper paying jobs that they need.
Thank you. As president, Donald Trump urged Congress to pass the SAVE Act, which requires proof of citizenship to vote. Mr. Trump warns that the integrity of the voting system is being compromised without proof of citizenship requirements. With a show of hands, which of you candidates would support the SAVE Act? Thank you. Mr. Carter, do you think that illegal immigrants should have the right to vote? Please explain your stance.
You said illegal? Wait.
Illegal.
No, I do not believe illegal immigrants should have a right to vote because they came into this country illegal. Because now other people who are trying to get into this country that came in legal, and other people who are still waiting out there, actually, let me restate that. The people who came in legal, they're still waiting on their right to vote. And I believe that it's really not fair.
President Eisenhower?
With the SAVE Act, I do not understand why you would need to prove your citizenship every time you vote if you already proved it to register to vote.
Because we have to ensure that there are citizenships and not frauding.
but they did that when they registered to vote.
So we're going to move on to our next topic.
Thank you, Mr. Gold, and thank you, candidates. The final topics for tonight have to do with LGBTQ rights and American unity. Mrs. Cadeau will now finish off the night with the final round of questions.
Mr. Trump, during your term in office, polling on the American electorate reflected that there was a great deal of divisiveness in the country. If you are elected, there will still be millions of people who did not vote for you and who support very different policies than yours. How will you bring such a divided country together if you are elected?
Can you repeat that?
During your term in office, polling on the American electorate reflected that there was a great deal of divisiveness in the country. If you are elected, there will still be millions of people who did not vote for you and who support very different policies than yours. How will you bring such a divided country together if you are elected?
I would ensure that those people that did not vote for me would and will support my rules, and it would work out for everything.
Thank you. Throughout our country's history, 3 presidents have been impeached, and 1, not including former President Fatah, resigned from the executive office. 3 of those individuals are on the stage tonight. Mr. Ford, you are known for granting a full and unconditional pardon to Mr. Nixon for his involvement in Watergate. Based on your previous actions, if elected, would you pardon former President Fatah for the crimes he and his administration have committed in the highest office of our land? Would you pardon former President Trump if he is convicted of the pending charges against him? Why or why not?
I would absolutely not pardon Fatah because that is treason. He is an enemy of the country, and all of our enemies should be dealt with accordingly and crushed. On the other hand, for Trump, I believe in the rule of law, and I believe that while everybody must be held accountable, no matter who they are, I wouldn't directly pardon him. I would just let it go up for the courts, and if he is proven guilty, then I don't think I would pardon it, but if he's proven innocent, he's proven innocent.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, the Department of Homeland Security warns that violence against LGBTQ+ people is on the rise and intensifying. According to a recent study, members of the LGBTQ+ community are 9 times more likely to be victims of violent hate crimes. As president, how would you protect this particular community from violent attacks and discrimination?
Thank you for your question. I will make sure that everyone is allowed to voice their opinion about others, but I will not tolerate any violence or discrimination against anyone, either LGBTQ+ community or people of color. So I will ensure that there will be laws against discrimination against others and violence. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final, oops. Go ahead, Mr. Ford.
May I ask what the punishments would be if someone were to break these laws?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
May I ask what the punishments would be if someone were to break these laws?
I would definitely have to figure that out in the future.
So you don't have a plan right now?
I'm sorry?
You don't have a plan right now?
At the moment, no. Do you?
I do.
What's your plan?
For anybody who would break these laws, I would make sure that they have a minimum of 10 years in jail, and I would enforce even higher protection around these certain individuals.
Got it.
Thank you for your responses. And the final question, Mr. Eisenhower, Mr. Kennedy has criticized your treatment of the LGBTQ community by claiming that you took actions that purposely discriminated against members of the LGBTQ community. Mr. Kennedy has also argued that the presidency cannot be trusted in the hands of Ronald Reagan because of his mismanagement and neglect of the AIDS pandemic. How would you each respond to Mr. Kennedy's attacks? We will start with Mr. Eisenhower and then go to Mr. Reagan.
So I know full well what he is talking about. He is talking about Executive Order 10450, in which I removed any possible suspected homosexuals from positions in the government. We must make sure that we know the time and the context. At the time, in 1952, we were at the height of the Cold War, and homosexuality was highly, it was very dangerous to be out of the closet. And our enemies, such as Russia, knew this. They used this information to threaten people who were in the government to give them information. As an example, William Martin and Vernon Mitchell, who were suspected homosexuals, defected from the National Security Agency to the USSR in 1960. It was not an act of hatred, it was an act of necessity and national security.
Thank you. Mr. Reagan.
So I would like to make two things clear before I address the AIDS crisis in specific. First, I would like to take a minute to explain that I am not the only president who backed away from a scary disease outbreak. Barack Obama did it when Ebola hit. Donald Trump did it when COVID hit. Second thing I would like to state is that the way I acted was because I did not believe I was a scientist. Unlike Donald Trump, who, when COVID broke out, tried to tell the people of our country to drink Clorox to rid the disease. I want to know his thinking behind that. So, when AIDS first emerged in the 1980s, it was a new and poorly understood disease. I did not know what was going on. Nobody knew how it was transmitted or treatment for it. But as soon as we understood the severity of the disease, we immediately began funding for research, education, and support. I donated $126 million to the Ryan White CARES Act, which funds education and support for those struggling with that disease. Thank you.
I would like to say, I don't know why you brought up Ebola. Personally, well, no. For our community, I let the scientists handle that and let them do as much as they can. But what you have did to the LGBT community, I have did greater. I have helped them with every aspect of life, and I have also helped them with workforce aspects, school aspects, and just in general of being regular people who just want to live regular lives.
So I understand the point you're trying to make there, but I would just like to point out that these scientists did not come up with anything for Ebola like that. It took you time. It took you understanding what the disease was. It took the scientists time, and that's what I did as well. So how are you any different than me? Thank you.
Thanks for your patience, Mr. Eisenhower.
Reagan, you say that you donated some odd money to the AIDS research, but you also withheld funds from the World Health Organization 2 years after the outbreak started, when it was fully known how it spread. Millions of people died.
Thank you for pointing that out. While I do empathize with the people and I do understand where you're coming from, and that was indeed very wrong, I would like to point out that my handling of the AIDS crisis had nothing to do with political or social views on the situation.
Thank you, candidates.
We have time for one final response from Mr. Eisenhower.
So, no matter what your stance is socially, politically on the LGBTQ community, millions of people died worldwide, and not actually, the majority of them were not part of the LGBTQ community. It does not matter your social situation, your actions killed people. Thank you.
Wow, what a great debate. Thank you to all of the candidates and moderators. At this time, we will invite the candidates to deliver their closing statements. Candidates, you each have 1 minute to deliver your remarks. We will start with Mr. Reagan.
My fellow Americans, we've come together to discuss the future of our great nation. The issues we face are real, but I am confident in America's ability to overcome them, as we always have when we were united in purpose. I've talked about policies that I believe are essential to getting our nation back on track. First, we need to restore economic opportunities. The best way to grow our economy is not through more government spending, but by unleashing the power by the private sector. America is a nation built by immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. We must enforce our laws, but also provide legal pathway for those who contribute to our society. We are facing economic recession and a world divided by the Cold War. Together, we lowered inflation, created jobs, and helped bring about the peaceful end of the Cold War. I've been tested, and I have delivered results. The difference between my competitors and I comes down to one belief. I trust the American people. My opponents believe more government is the answer, but what we need now is government that gets out of the way and unleashes the power of the people. So tonight, I ask for your vote, not just for me, but for the future of our country. Thank you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Mr. Richard Nixon.
You, the American people, have heard many different stances and stories today. While there are some ideas better than others, I, Richard Nixon, believe that my experience with all of these topics, including healthcare issues, inflation, and foreign affairs, that I am what the American people need during these times. We also need a leader who can further the study and research of medicines and diseases. During my presidency, we were one of the fastest developing countries in medicine. I also began the war on cancer, as I was the one who was studying what cancer was, how could we fight it, and much more. This is the basis of a lot of the research that we have today, and I promise that we could further the studies that we have on both medicine and disease. I opened the world up to China. I had the idea for universal health care and broader coverage. I am the one who brought peace to this country, and I swear to the American people that I will do that again when I am elected your president. We need a leader who can push the limits of the country and extend it farther than ever before. All in all, we absolutely need a leader with confidence and strength, which is exactly what you'll find from me and my team. We need to go into the future with a good economy, and you will not get that with a weak leader. You need a strong leader, one which will take care of this country and put it into a good position into this world, which is evolving very quickly. Thank you.
Mr. John Kennedy.
As I stand before you today, I am filled with gratitude for the American people and am reminded of the purpose of this candidacy, to serve our nation with integrity, vision, and compassion. Using the words I once shared long ago, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Now you may think this would be a basic responsibility of the President of the United States, and yet similar words spoken by people broke many promises made to the American people. No promise will be broken by me, though. That sense of duty and caring is what I will bring back to our country, and trust will be restored in our leadership. Today, that means coming together with the challenges we face, like how many Americans are struggling with rising costs that affect their daily lives. I will prioritize solutions that ease the financial burden on families, starting by stabilizing prices and ensuring fair wages so that hard-working Americans can afford essentials like food, housing, and health care. And though that is one of the many problems Americans face, it is one that has most harmed Americans these recent years and promised a change which never came. Though my fellow competitors and I share being president of the United States of America in the past, I offer something more, a genuine commitment to listening to you and addressing your needs, which are backed up by the actions I've already taken, and I've shown that I do listen and I do care. I am prepared, as I was in my past, always prepared to take on bold action for the American people. So as you consider your choice, I urge you to vote smartly. Choose a leader who deeply cares about you and your loved ones, a leader who has a track record of inspiring hope and bringing real change. In my same words, we choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Let us choose to build a brighter future together, not because it is easy, because it is necessary. Vote for solutions, vote for unity, and vote for John F. Kennedy. I am truly grateful for your support, and together we can achieve real change for real problems. Thank you, and God bless America.
Mr. Dwight Eisenhower.
I thank you, America, for coming to this debate and listening to all of our policies and our issues. Thank you again for listening. I plan, when I am elected president, to fix our country's problems with immigration. I will open up the borders again. I will increase wages, and I will fix our economy with taxing the rich. A vote for me, Dwight David Eisenhower, is a vote for peace, prosperity, and progress. As I said in my inaugural address in 1953, a people that values its privileges above its principles will soon lose both. I implore you, trust me again as you have before. Thank you.
Mr. Barack Obama.
Hello, everyone. I would like to say thank you guys for coming out and supporting everyone here, not just me. I want to end tonight by reminding the American people of my goal, purpose as president. Being up here before the American people and ready to serve this great nation is an amazing honor. I want to bring change to America just like I did in my first presidency. I plan to fix the issues that are hurting America today: the economy, external issues, and conflict, and create change so that when I am done in 4 years, we will see an improvement and stronger nation. I vow to do what is best for the American people because I will only be president by will of the people. America is built by the people. The system of government our founding fathers set into action over 200 years ago. You, the American people, run this great nation, and it is my purpose to protect, lead, and serve the best citizens on earth. I will create change, and I will be a president for the people. Thank you, America.
Mr. Donald Trump.
Thank you for listening to me tonight. I'm running for president to put America first and keep our country safe and strong. I'll ensure that health care is affordable for everyone and access affordable care without huge bills. And we need a system that works for all. On abortions, I respect your different views and believe in finding common ground that protects both the unborn and women's choices. Economically, I have strong record of job creations. National security is my top listening. I committed to securing our borders, ensuring our veterans receive the care we deserve. And why I'm a best choice. I'm a businessman with focus on real change. A vote for me is a vote for a stronger, safer America. Thank you. Make America great again.
Mr. Joseph Biden.
My fellow Americans, the challenges we face are real, but so are the opportunities. There's so much more work that needs to be done, but I'm ready to continue my efforts and create a country where fear and discrimination are no longer. I'm proud to be an American citizen, and I hope that after this debate, you are too. This is not just another election, it's a fight for the soul of our nation. Together, we can build an America where every voice matters and every family can thrive. The choice is clear. Let's get the job done. Thank you.
Mr. Gerald Ford.
Firstly, I would like to thank everybody for coming today and participating in this important conversation about the future. Everyone here has listed a plan and their achievements. I'm not going to do that because I know you guys know what's right. I only have one message, and that's the end of the day, we all bleed red. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So if you want somebody that's president for the people, for everyone, and for equality, vote me. Thank you.
Mr. Bill Clinton.
Hello, American people. Thank you for all being here tonight. And I would like to say that as of the recent years, we have seen a lot of different political and other events plague the nation. Now, when I reach back in office and eventually take care of those things, you will see that just like before, I will also now solve those same problems that I had solved then. Of course, it may be more challenging, but I promise that like before, I will triumph over all those things. Thank you.
Mr. George Walker Bush.
My fellow Americans, my campaign and I am here tonight to inform you that this debate is not all about the policies. It is about how I shall protect and serve the people of America. I can make a stand strong under the laws of America. This is not about me, but a single mother working more than 2 jobs to provide their children with what they desire for a living. Students and people being worried about rising costs of education. We're a younger generation, and I believe that there would be enough opportunities for all people of America. I'm the best candidate for America because I will focus on the rights of peoples as American citizens. I will put America's economy in my hands, and I am the candidate who can help America grow. Thank you for coming here tonight, and God bless you. Yes, America can.
Mr. Jimmy Carter.
Thank you all, my fellow Americans, for coming tonight to watch this wonderful debate. I believe that we as a country should try our hardest to avoid any type of conflict that could put our citizens at home in danger. I believe that that no matter, everybody in this room, we're all just humans, no matter what we did. All of that can be forgiven. Because Jesus, he forgives all. So please, I ask you tonight, please vote me so you can have a leader for a change.
Mr. George Herbert Walker Bush.
The reason you should vote for me is because the world is not a world we should live in. People should get the help they need when they need it, with lower insurance, be able to get the tools they need to be able to walk or talk. It is imperative that schools get the things they need to be accessible to all, no matter if it's during school or after school. We should be able to pass laws that allow more people of different ethnicities to be able to get the things they need to not have to steal or cause crime in our streets. If you would like to live in a world like this, vote George H.W. Bush for your president for the United States of America.
Mr. Lyndon Johnson.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I want to reaffirm my commitment to helping all Americans thrive and promoting equality. We face challenges, but together we can turn them into opportunities for growth. Alliances, improving education, and ensuring accessible healthcare. I believe in strong diplomatic foreign relations and that every voice deserves to be heard. I, Lyndon B. Johnson, am the best choice because I always find solutions. This election is about values and our future. Together, we can build a great society where justice and peace thrive. Vote for hope, progress, and unity. Vote for me, Lyndon B. Johnson. Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose. Let's create a brighter future for all Americans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidates. At this time, the debate has officially ended. It is now time to determine who will be the Democratic nominee and who will be the Republican nominee for the general election, which starts tomorrow. I am going to ask everyone to please remain silent until after you have cast your ballot. The voting tables have been set up outside the auditorium. Please form a single file line at each table. Each individual will only vote once. In order to vote, you must present the officials at the voting booths with the bottom portion of your ticket, and you must show them your event bracelet. You may now proceed to vote. Thank you all, and have a great night.